Hello, testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. 1, 2, 3. We are live. Let me turn you up a little bit here. All right, theme song, and I think we're good. Yeah. So I gotta do this. Nope, that's not it. There you go. Cool. All right, let me theme song in 3, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Bad Catholic Dads. My name is John Perez. Welcome back to the show. No Josh names this week for the second week in a row. So Josh, if you're watching this or you're listening to this in the future, shame. Just shame. No, I'm kidding. He's busy with life. Obviously, he has his he's been out of town for the past couple of weeks. Because they do camping trips at the very end of October, like the last three weekends of October, and then of course he has a baby coming up. Oh, yeah. I think his wife. I think they're 37 or 38 weeks at this point. So I can understand. I think they're getting ready. And of course they have family over visiting. I think today family visiting from his wife's side of the family. They haven't seen them in like 3 months since COVID.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just me here hosting it down. But of course, I have a really awesome guest this week. Last week, we had Allie Rock on the show, our first ever woman on the podcast. This show is really the show, and I'll introduce you in a second, but really the show, I don't know if you know a lot about the show, but basically it's a Catholic Dads podcast for Catholic dads by Catholic dads, and we kind of just talk to all different types of Catholic dads from all different types of walks of life. And so I'm excited to talk to you this week. Good friend of mine here. Please welcome to the show, Andrew Blumhardt.
Hey.
Yeah, we had a live audience. They'd be clapping, but we don't have a live audience.
No.
We got some live footsteps upstairs, but welcome to the show, man. Welcome. So, yeah, like I said, I started this I don't know if you know, I started this podcast a couple years ago, and used to do it with one of my friends who is not doing the show with me anymore, because he just got way too busy. But just wanted to start the show because for someone who is Catholic and strives to be Catholic, I think it's funny, the name is called Bad Catholic Dads, not because we're like.
Not bad Catholic.
Not a bad Catholic. I think there's another show or another person called Bad Catholic or something like that. But not because we're bad Catholics, but it's really number one. I wanted something that's catchy, and so when people hear the name, they're like, "Huh, why are they called Bad Catholic Dads? What's that about?" But number two, really, the show is to talk to different Catholic dads and have conversations about how. We're not perfect Catholic dads. We might not even be the best. And sometimes we do fall short. But it's really about picking each other up and picking our families up and striving to be Christ in the world.
That's what I assumed it meant. That we're all sinners and we're all trying to be better.
Right. So man, I'm really excited that you're here. Yeah. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. But before that, please go on Spotify and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to your podcast, we're probably on there. Please check us out, give us a rating, and listen to other episodes. Again, last week, I think we did our first ever woman guest. We've never had a woman on the show, but we want to talk about pro-life issues in the upcoming election. Oh, yeah. And who better to have on the show than Allie?
Awesome. Oh, yeah.
And so we had her on the show this season. We are doing season. We've never done seasons before, so we're gonna do. I think you're there's 2 more episodes after you, okay. And then the season's over until 2021. Nice. But so far this year, we've had Allie on the show. We had one of my buddies who is in the tech industry in California, in the in Silicon Valley area. So that was really interesting. We had Allie's husband on the show, Seth. We talked a little bit about school choice, and now we have you on the show, which I'm really excited about. I want to talk to you, and feel free to. And honestly, this show really isn't about. It's not about informing people or educating people. There's a bajillion podcasts on just educating people about different things for me, this podcast is more about just a conversation. Like after Mass, a couple of us young families hang out front. It's basically that. Nice. But we happen to have a virtual audience in front of us and some mics in front of us. But, dude, I'm so hyped you're on the show, dude. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
How's everything going? How's life?
It's good. It is defined a little bit by COVID. You know? And I think everyone's life is to an extent defined by that right now.
Yeah.
Certainly my work is defined by that.
We'll definitely have to get into that. I'm excited for that one. But I really wanted to have you on the show because we're kind of hitting different. When me and Josh is my other co-host on the show. When we were thinking about doing subjects for episodes for the season, of course, the election was the biggest thing on people's minds. Other than the things that are going on in 2020, but election's pretty big, and so we wanted to hit different people to talk about kind of the issues of the election, which is number one, COVID and lockdowns. And we had a buddy of mine in California who's probably under the strictest lockdowns right now. We had Seth to talk about school choice and education, and then we had Allie last week to talk about pro-life issues for Catholics voting. We were debunking like Catholic justifications for voting for pro-choice candidates. Oh, right. So we were like coming with I was hitting her with, oh hey, what do you think about people justifying, this reason for voting for a pro-choice candidate, and then we would kind of debunk it one by one. This week though, I not only want to talk to you about your background and your upbringing, because you're a convert to the faith, is that correct?
I am.
All right, we're going to talk about that for sure. We've had a lot of, I think for the first time ever on the show, we've had a lot of different people who are just like converts. We've never had this many converts in the show in one time.
Cue the comments of Cradle Catholic, all that.
Yeah.
That always comes up. Yeah.
Hashtag Cradle Catholic. Let's go. So we're going to talk about that, but I think we're going to be getting away a little from the election issues this podcast, and just to kind of talk to you about not only your upbringing and your conversion to Catholicism, obviously about your job as an educator, but most importantly, I think it's really important to talk to you about what it means to raise a special needs child.
Oh yeah.
And I just thought if you're open to talking about that, I think a lot of dads in your shoes would love to hear about your experiences doing that. Yeah. So let's talk. Let's go to the beginning. Who is Andrew Blumhardt? Where did you come from? And talk about your upbringing. Maybe talk a little bit about your faith if you had a faith growing up.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Michigan.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you to just be a little closer to the mic. Yeah.
No. So I grew up in Michigan.
Cool. Michigan. Where in Michigan?
Like southeast Michigan, right outside Ann Arbor.
Okay. Oh, cool.
You're familiar with the University of Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah. And growing up, I spent some time at a Free Methodist church.
Okay.
But it wasn't.
Was that the church your parents were going to?
Actually, no. They really didn't. They didn't attend church.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of, for the most part, the one person in my family that did go to church, consistently for a time. That sort of, not being reinforced, and I think by my family, I sort of hit a wall that I think other people hit sometimes, which is, I'm seeing these parishioners at my church, behave in a way that's not congruent with the faith, that we were learning, and because of that, and probably my own shortcomings, I sort of just kind of stopped going. I don't know. I maybe went till I was like 10 or 12, and then it just.
Who would you go with if your parents didn't go?
They just dropped me off, and I mean, there's like, there were other kids there that I knew.
Wow.
My aunt and uncle went there as well.
Okay.
And
was there a reason why you wanted to go to church, in spite of your parents not wanting to go?
I don't remember.
Yeah. Probably grace, Holy Spirit, a little bit.
Yeah. But then I went through sort of a dark period spiritually.
Yeah.
Where I consider myself atheist for quite a few years.
Yeah.
I will say though, looking back, I can recall a number of times where I definitely felt the Holy Spirit kind of pulling me back and sort of piquing my interest again.
Yeah.
In Jesus Christ.
What kind of way? What kind of things? Like, what do you remember anything like specifically, or?
I mean, yeah. I remember some instances of like, I should pick up the Bible and read a little bit, or what does faith mean to me?
Just those questions.
Do I? Yeah. A lot of fundamental questions.
Yeah,
for sure. And I ended up. So my story of conversion is, I always have to put a disclaimer on it, because I had met my now wife.
Yeah.
And I had read, just before I met her, I started reading Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, yep.
And really what that did for me was it sort of eliminated a lot of the questions that I had and the criticisms that I had of the church. And it just gave me some answers. And it made me think, I need to look into this more.
Was there a reason? Was it just one of the things like, I want to learn something?
Yeah, no. One of my best friends, he just gave it to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, definitely. And so I read that. I started reading that over the summer. And actually, Ellen and I, my wife Ellen, we were camp counselors at a fine arts camp.
Okay.
And
nice.
It was really cool. And actually, we were counselors for this orchestra that was touring Europe. And so I started reading that, and then I started kind of a friendship and discussion with another counselor who had a pretty deep spiritual life.
Yeah.
And that got me interested. And then later that summer, I just thought, okay, what's next? Like, what's the next step that I'm going to take? And that's where my wife came in. We weren't even really dating at the time. We kind of started dating, and I think I had talked to her about this, and I said, yeah, I don't know what kind of church I want to go to.
How long ago was this?
This was 2010.
Whoa.
And
nice, dude.
Yeah. And pretty much she just said, well, why not the Catholic Church? And what really, the impetus for me, getting into the church, what was the RCIA program. And I was intrigued by that. Like, hey, this is a class designed for me to learn more about the faith. And,
right.
I just didn't see that anywhere else. So it was either go it alone and try and kind of blaze my own path, or I can,
do something a little more formal.
Something more formal,
right.
And there was no commitment. I mean, it wasn't, it was never like, if you do this, you're going to be joining the Catholic Church.
Right.
Just,
right.
To learn more.
Yeah.
And that was at St. John's Parish in East Lansing.
How did you? I'm gonna get back to this.
Yeah.
How did you get from Michigan to Maryland?
Oh, okay.
Maryland.
So. Yeah.
I don't know. It's awesome because I really don't. I know like you now, but I don't know anything about your past. And I remember when we were talking about bringing on guests for this season, Josh was like, "You got to have Andrew. You got to have Andrew. He's saying like you got a crazy conversion story or something like that." But I guess just we're gonna get back to the conversion story. But how did you get from Maryland or Michigan to Maryland? I guess was it straight from there to there, or was some stops in between?
Yeah, no, I had graduated in 2011. I was looking for a job, and one of the first opportunities that came up was in Maryland. And the reason I was looking in Maryland is because my girlfriend at the time, now wife, lived in Maryland.
You guys dated for a while then?
We dated for about 1 year long distance.
Okay. But she's from Maryland?
She is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. And so basically, that story is I followed a girl here.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And
nice.
Yeah. So that's what brought me down here.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, we were long distance for a year, and about once a month we would take flights.
Wow.
Yeah, back and forth.
Nice.
And that got a little fatiguing, and I knew that I was definitely interested in
possibly getting married.
Yeah, definitely,
for sure.
And
you weren't Catholic at the time at all, or
actually I was.
Okay.
So I started RCIA in, I guess, August of 2010.
Yeah.
And I was confirmed, baptized, and received First Communion at Pentecost 2011, June 12th, 2011.
Okay.
And then about a month later, 2 months later, I got a job offer down here.
Nice, man.
And I thought, okay, I'm only going to be an hour away from this girl. That's
Nice.
that's good.
Nice.
I can make that work.
Any going back to you and RCIA, well, your wife, your wife says to you, why not the Catholic Church?
Yeah.
Any reservations about that going into it, or what was that like?
No, I didn't really have any reservations about it.
Did you know a lot about the Catholic Church, or
No, I didn't.
like
I really didn't.
These Bible haters, you know?
Yeah, no, I really didn't even. I wasn't even really aware of like the stereotypes or you know,
awesome.
or a lot of the the criticism of the church that I know now. But
yeah.
Yeah. So I do always make this disclaimer that
let's go, dude.
Because what people will say when I tell that story, or I start to tell the story, they'll say, "Oh, so you converted for your wife?"
Yeah.
And no, no. It's really important to me too, because of course I love my wife very much.
Of course.
And it's awesome, as you know. It's really great to share the faith with your spouse.
Of course.
But I converted for Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And
no,
that's
I think
huge, and that's just so important to me to make that distinction.
No, I think it's. I would never. I think assume that. I don't because I think. I was kind of in that position. I'm a cradle Catholic, but it's really about being open to, I think, how God uses things and people in your life to bring you closer to Him.
Yeah.
And I would more say, rather than you converting to Catholicism because your wife, I think God used your wife to help you along your own journey to Catholicism, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's really important to just be open to just those certain things. So you convert to Catholicism, and I always forget this, and like I probably should be better about explaining who people are. You are you work in public education
right.
for Charles County in Maryland, and you were also part-time director of music at St. Joseph's.
Yeah, music director.
Is that your title?
Yeah, music
Something
director.
like that. Yeah. So how did you get from a convert to saying I want to work for the church in some capacity?
Yeah. So when I moved down to Maryland, where I lived, I started going to this Catholic church.
To which Catholic church?
This was St. Mary's Star of the Sea in
nice.
Indian Head.
Yeah. That's like our that used to be our backup parish when we were late for St. Joe's.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Now it's Sacred Heart. Now
Sacred Heart. Okay. Yeah, and if you're really late, then you go to St. Ignatius at the 5:30.
Yeah,
that's
one time we went to St. Peter's in Waldorf. Because it was like 1 p.m. But it's like
the Spanish Mass.
Yeah, if you know anything about Catholic churches in the DMV, if it's like after 1 p.m., it's usually a Spanish Mass.
Yes.
It was fine. I mean, it was really our only choice because we had an engagement in the evening, so we were like, I guess we got to go to this one.
Still the same Jesus.
Still the same Jesus.
Yeah.
How did you get from? So you were going to St. Mary's Star of the Sea in Indian Head.
Yep. And as you know, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
I love music.
What did you major in?
Trombone was my primary instrument of study. Music education was my undergrad and master's.
What? Was there anything growing up that made you want to go? I want to work in the music field or music field? Or?
Yeah. I had some very influential teachers in high school, especially, and really going back to. Going all the way back, my mom, she's a very musical person, and we would do things like we would make up songs, we'd sing like duets, like just in the car, like she'd make up harmony or I'd sing some harmony. Yeah, and knowing now what I know about music learning theory, it makes sense that my mom really, even though she wasn't formally trained in music, she really laid the foundation for that to be a love of mine.
That's awesome.
And and then high school, it's some very influential teachers, and it was the kind of thing. I mean, when you find something you love, you just want to do it for the rest of your life. And music is definitely something I love, and I feel very lucky every day that I get to make music.
Amen. So how did you get to become the director of music for St. Joseph's?
Okay, so went to Star of the Sea. Just as a parishioner when I first moved to Maryland.
Nice.
And they did not have any music at,
really?
I think there was or 11 o'clock mass.
Wow. Yeah.
So I said, yeah, I can do that. I mean, I might not be great, I don't know, but I've never done it before. I'm a new Catholic, but that's something I can do. And so I started just volunteering there, singing, and the pianist there, Gail Coates, who was, before she moved out to Tennessee, was a parishioner also at St. Joseph.
Okay.
She kind of showed me the ropes of following the liturgy and just kind of some of the nuance, I guess, of liturgical music.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a couple years, and I took a break from that for a few years, right around the time I got married, and when we had our first child. I took a break just because it was just, I just needed some more time.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, I decided to give it another shot. They were forming a men's choir at Sacred Heart, and so I was, okay, I'll join this. I did that for, maybe like a month, and then Trish, the music director there, said, hey, they need a cantor over at St. Catherine's in McConkey, and which is kind of down by Port Tobacco.
Yeah.
Funny name, McConkey. But so I cantored there for a little while, and then someone else told me, hey, they need a cantor down at Holy Ghost. So then for a couple years, for a couple years, I was running all around. I was driving like 60 miles every weekend.
Wow.
To different parishes.
Did you ever feel like that was too much for you, or did you ever feel like calling for that, or was it just something that you love music so much that you just wanted to do it?
It's the combination of like the two things that I love the most.
Yeah.
Music and Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church. So yeah, no, it's it was a little draining.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I would do the 5 o'clock down at Holy Ghost. That's about 35 minutes from my house. Come back, then I'd go do the 8 a.m. there on Sunday morning, then come up to St. Catherine's and do that mass. So it made for after working a full week, made for a pretty pretty busy schedule.
I think that's so. I don't know. I don't know if brave is the word. That's the only word that's come to my mind. But it is very self-sacrificial in the fact that you were working a Monday through Friday job, and then normally, like, I was once a teacher. I love my weekends.
Oh yeah.
I still love my weekends. Yeah. Even more. But here comes a day, just one day out of the weekend, just gone for you, because you wanted to do this. It's all awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Did you ever feel like that was a strain on your family? Did that ever come to that point, or? Because I know for a fact, like, just doing this show, like, my wife and I have to be in constant communication. I'm like, hey, just letting you know, one day a week, a couple hours, I got to do this show. And that could be a strain sometimes, especially when our schedule gets so busy. For you, did you ever feel like, for your family, juggling cantoring and music and church ever, what was the key there for you guys?
It is tough. Well, the key is to have an amazing wife. Yeah. that's a good place to start.
That's the key for everything.
And
right?
No, seriously, that's key for faith and family for sure. But yeah, she understood too that this was, it's something that supports our family, but it also supports the church, and both of those, those are both good holy things,
right?
And so it's something that we've learned to work around.
Cool.
Because it's important.
So you're cantering all these places, and then how does St. Joe's come up?
So I had subbed some at St. Joseph.
Okay.
Actually, Allie was a music director there, and I remember, I don't remember the year, but I guess it was when Jacob was born. Her youngest was born.
Cool.
She needed a sub, so I subbed there some, which meant even longer weekend, because it was like for a while I was singing 4 masses every weekend. And I subbed there for a while, and then I think when she took an interest in the director of religious education, and she had talked to me about hey, maybe this is an opportunity you want to think about, and definitely I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. So that's how I ended up at St. Joseph.
That's cool. So how does that? So just for my own context, it doesn't really matter about the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Are you singing at all the masses, or how have you set up St. Joseph so far?
When I first started,
You were
I was
singing
singing.
all
I was singing like 2 or 3 masses.
Nice.
I work with some other really great musicians,
Cool.
and right now, we've unfortunately they've cut 1 mass out of the schedule, so we're down to 3 masses a weekend now.
Saturday and the 2
Saturday
Sundays.
and then 2 on Sunday. And so I was doing 2 masses a weekend. Now I'm doing 1.
Okay.
And I have.
But you've probably litigated those.
Yeah.
People have you covered. For
Yeah. I mean, of course, if something happens last minute, someone can't make it, I'll jump in and take it over. But right now, my responsibilities, and there's no choir right now either, which is, it's a bummer. But
yeah, I remember that. I remember that. They were upstairs on your right.
Yeah.
There was the 2 pews full of people singing.
Yeah.
No,
so
not yet.
Oh, you mean bring it back?
Yeah. Well, no. I'm saying like I guess it just hasn't come back yet.
Yeah. We've got there's some guidance from the archdiocese, and part of my other job is understanding how COVID and aerosols are spread in an arts setting, basically.
Okay.
Cool. And so I think there's some ways we can bring it back. I'm just not totally sure that it's going to happen quite yet. I'm hoping to maybe get a quartet together for
nice.
for the Christmas liturgy.
Cool. Whatever happened to the old guy that was playing piano? I don't remember his name. Older gentleman. I think he had glasses. He's still playing? Or?
Yeah. He took some time off with COVID.
Okay.
Cool. And kind of sort of let everyone else be the guinea pig. Kind of mentality. See how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going okay. All right, I'll come back.
What?
Yeah, so he's back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, he was I think he was one of my favorites because he was just
great.
One of the earliest people I remember. Just because I used to do music ministry at my college.
Oh, very
and
good.
Actually,
where'd you go to college?
I went to Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia.
Nice.
And when I was getting back to my faith, I started going to CCM there, so the college Catholic campus ministry.
Okay.
And so they had a student-led choir.
Nice.
And actually that's how me and my wife got reunited. She took a job down there to be assistant director of that campus ministry. Meanwhile, actually, I don't know if you know this about my wife. You might want to rope her into some music stuff, but awesome. She used to be the director of music for that campus ministry.
Oh, great.
And so I was like, well, I want to spend more time with my future wife. And I also love singing and playing guitar. That's why I played guitar for them and But one of the first things I remember is like I always look at the music at every church, and we're like, so. Nice. Real quick, last question before we talk about COVID and kind of everything about that. You've been doing this for a couple years now.
At St. Joseph's.
For St. Joseph's.
Yep.
What is the thing you've learned about it? Have you learned anything about it, or does anything come to mind talking about you being director of music at St. Joseph's? Yeah,
well, one of the biggest shifts is going to these antiphons instead of doing an entrance hymn, an offertory hymn, a communion hymn. We started doing antiphons, which I have found are much more relevant to the liturgy than the hymns that I could choose from. And everyone likes a foot tapping hymn, a familiar hymn that they can just tap their foot along to and sing without looking at the music. But what I've found is that there's just so much more available with these chants.
Very cool.
This kind of plain chant style.
Cool.
And,
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Really, for me, it took me a while to get used to it, but it really deepens the liturgy.
Ali just posted Josh Namus MIA again. LOL. He is MIA. It's okay.
Hey, Ali.
Ali's watching. Hey, Ali. When we were doing campus ministry, when we were in the music choir for campus ministry.
Was it like a Newman Club? Did they call it that?
No, it wasn't a Newman Club. Basically, it was kind of like that. But yeah. We did the massive renewal.
Yes.
And actually, when we went to St. Joseph's, I think when we first started going there, I think you guys were also doing the massive renewal too.
Okay. When did you start going to St. Joseph?
2000. It had to be 2000 when we first moved here, so 2017.
Okay.
So it was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, This is cool. This is cool. So I don't know if you remember that
very
at
familiar
all,
with the
but
Mass Renewal.
yeah. I mean, I like it. It's
Yeah.
cool. So all right. So yeah. How's COVID been with you guys? What was the lockdowns like for you guys, especially you being in the public education world?
Yeah, I mean, everything just stopped.
Yeah.
It's like the world stood still.
Well,
My world stood still for for a few weeks for sure. There's a lot of uncertainty about what we were going to do. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was like this for you, but it's like March 13th is like that'll be burned into my memory forever.
What was that? What was that like
that
for
was,
you guys?
Yeah, that was March 13th was Friday, the last Friday of school.
Yeah.
And I remember on that Thursday we were holding we had a band festival. All the bands come from Charles County come and perform, and they get adjudicated. And I remember one of our judges was a guy from Loudoun County, Virginia, and he was kind of like almost in jest, like, "Hey, they're closed. This is nuts. They're going to close down our school system for 2 weeks."
Yeah.
And we were doing, the COVID bump, and okay, we better not. And now it's just everything's wow, it's so different now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was tough because I'd struggled to know, what can I do? What can I do with my job right now?
Yeah.
There wasn't, there was a lot of confusion and a lot of trying to keep education alive. But we, at that time, I mean, we just were not prepared for a transition to virtual learning.
Yeah.
And, everyone did their best, but it's been, I don't know how many months, like 8 months or so of learning new things.
Yeah, a lot of people learning new things.
A lot of new things, yeah.
Yeah.
So just the flexibility that's been required has been tremendous. And I've noticed that with myself, but in a lot of the people that I work with too, they've just had to develop a lot more flexibility. And, even teachers who that I work with who aren't comfortable with technology, like that's not a, you just can't.
You can't do that.
You can't say it anymore. I mean, it's just,
you can't.
it's COVID kind of forced our hand on that stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was personal life, family life? What was that like going to? Did you guys have COVID or not?
No.
Did you know or?
No.
Because I remember there was like a week or so that you maybe I don't know. You guys got sick or something like that?
Oh yeah, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
So
what was personal life? What was family life like when everything hit the shelf?
So my daughter Mary, she has a rare genetic disorder.
Yeah.
And she has pretty severe special needs. And by February, she just turned 3, and we had we had a good system set up. We had some volunteers from the church coming over just to like play with the kids, so we could get some things done, get like clean or whatever. They'd come over and just kind of help out. So my in-laws were coming over and helping, and we definitely needed help. 3 kids, as you'll find out soon. It's a lot, and it's a lot with a typically developing kid, and when your child has special needs, it's a lot more. It's like having 2 kids.
All right. Well,
twins.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a great. I think it's a great segue to just talk about what it's like to be a parent of a special needs kid. So let's talk a little bit about your daughter.
Yeah.
Can you just explain to the audience and even myself, just wanting to know more?
Yeah.
A little bit more about your daughter and her situation.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you asking. And sometimes people, they get uncomfortable asking.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to feel like they're going to offend me or whatever. But honestly, it's a part of our life, and I love talking about my daughter, and
so
and
awesome,
the struggles and the joys of it.
So what does she have?
So,
what does she have?
So her
Explain
genetic disorder is called SYNGAP1. So there's
SYNGAP1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's SYNGAP1 is a protein in your brain that regulates the transmission at synapses between neurons, and so only half of her SYNGAP protein is correct, and the other half, that's where she has a genetic mutation. Just one letter, if you remember from biology, that what is it, adenine, thymine, guanine, cysteine? I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
But just one letter off.
Wow.
I mean, that's the difference,
Wow.
And it's basically, genetic code it's like, having an encyclopedia and one letter is wrong in that encyclopedia, and it causes all these issues. So SYNGAP1. So obviously, one of the primary things that it affects is is intellectual disability. It pretty much affects everything she does, though. So, right now they just call it developmental delay, but we know that it's an intellectual disability as well. So the other thing, some of the other markers of it are seizures, epilepsy, and so she started having seizures just after her second birthday. I mean, we got the diagnosis January 27th, 2019.
When was she born?
She was born January 31st, 2017.
Sorry. Say it one more time.
So she was born January 31st, 2017.
Yep.
And then we got the diagnosis about a week before her second birthday, January 27th, 2019.
So, I would love to talk a little bit before we go even further. Like, what was that first year like? It was about a year, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll start off with this.
Yeah.
Because people always like this story.
Yeah.
So with our firstborn, Francis, he's 6 now. My wife wanted to do an all-natural labor.
Yep.
And she did a lot of reading about it, and I supported her in it. Although if she wanted to,
if you want to go, let's
if
go.
If she wanted drugs and whatever, I'd say, cool, you do it.
Don't let me stop
I'll support
you.
Yeah. But labor with our firstborn was like 36 hours long.
Wow.
It was intense, man. Yeah. I mean,
wow. We were 24 just on the
really.
Yeah, we were 24. So
yeah, women, amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously.
Yeah. And so
sometimes I'm like, are you sure you want to get pregnant? Are you sure you want another baby?
I know, right?
I think there's like people were saying like there's a chemical that releases
makes you forget
that like gives you amnesia about those moments, so you just forget about it.
Yep.
How incredible the human body for even doing that.
Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
I know. It's amazing.
I mean, I have amnesia just trying to find the remote.
Right. So we figured, you've probably heard this too. Like, labor for subsequent children can often be shorter.
Right.
That's pretty common.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And so we thought, oh, hey, that's good because, maybe it'll be half as long. Maybe it'll be 18 hours. Like, we can manage that. And so basically it was about, 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And she had a couple strong contractions. It was like, okay, we're labor starting. And then her water broke. And we were like, okay, wow. I was trying to get stuff together, kind of had the bag made, but pulling things together.
Yeah.
Called the neighbor who was going to come stay at the house with Francis.
Okay.
He was already asleep. And one of the things I remember about that is as my wife's laboring, I'm trying to be like hospitable to our neighbor who's coming over. It's very nice of her to come over.
Yeah.
So I'm like showing her how to use the PlayStation to get to Netflix, and oh man, yeah, I'll just not live that down.
Nice.
Because of what happened next. So Ellen's she said, okay, we got to go. I could tell it was serious.
Yep.
So we hop in the car. We have a hospital, obviously in La Plata, about 5 minutes from our house.
Okay.
But we really liked the hospital down in St. Mary's County, about 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
They have a midwife department, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we didn't actually get all the way to the hospital.
That's
so,
right.
About 10 minutes into the drive, we had driven past the first hospital, and it was quite a precipitous labor. And my wife said, "You need to pull over. Like, the baby's coming out. I'm having the baby." And I remember this is so crazy, man. I have a dash cam, in my car.
Yeah.
And it also captures audio. It's obviously pointing at the road, so no video.
Right.
But captures audio. So I've actually been able to relive this once. I don't think I want to again. And so I had a hooded sweatshirt on.
Yeah.
Kind of like this.
Yeah.
It was about 33 degrees out, January 31st. Pulled over the side of the road, took off my hooded sweatshirt, and
caught the baby.
Caught the baby. We didn't find out the sex, if it was boy or girl, and it was dark out.
It was dark.
Even though the door was open, I think the lights weren't coming on in the car or something.
Oh yeah, this is like 10 of 10.
Yeah, this was 11:33 at night.
Only an hour and a half then.
Yeah, very quick.
From the time you left, yeah.
Yeah,
or the time you were ready to go.
We assumed that we probably would have a little time,
Wow.
And
man, now you got me worried.
Oh,
because we thought about we were thinking about choosing a hospital close to us over here, but we really love our hospital on the other side of the river in Virginia.
Okay.
But it's about 45 minutes away from here too.
Yeah.
And this is our third child now, so
Well,
I guess whenever wife says, I guess the first ever contraction, we're gonna go there. Not
Yeah.
the one where she's like, yeah, it's happening.
Yeah. Oh no, I know it's.
Yeah.
Don't do what I did.
Yeah.
Um,
But hey, you guys did it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
caught the
So
baby, you
obviously
wrapped the baby.
called 911, and they
Yeah.
were giving me some instruction, but it wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't helpful, but it was, basically just stay calm and.
Yeah.
Um,
What was that like, dude?
It was
What was
insane.
that
I mean, the
like?
adrenaline, my hands are shaking, heart pounding. Just I remember like dry heaving. I know it's gross, but dry heaving from all the adrenaline. It was just so
my
intense.
Gosh, dude.
But yeah, caught. We so the thing is, I didn't know if it was a boy or girl.
Yeah.
And that was not my primary concern.
Right.
Obviously, catching
yeah.
my child, on
Yeah.
the side of the road. So even the ambulance got there, I could hear them coming, even just a few minutes after my daughter was born, and they got there, 10 or 15 minutes to get loaded up in the ambulance, and then that was when, like my wife said, like, let's see, like, is it a boy or girl?
Yeah.
We don't even know. And
Yeah.
it was kind of so the ambulance was kind of the big reveal for us.
That's cool.
It was pretty special. Yeah. And then I remember driving to then we went to the hospital in La Plata, the one close to our house, because we were pretty close to that one.
Yeah.
And I have dash cam audio of this too, of just saying the rosary and
That's awesome.
pleading with God to
Make everything okay.
That's
incredible,
that
man.
my wife and my daughter would be healthy.
So what was that first? What was the first year like with Mary?
The first 6 months, pretty typical. I mean, didn't notice anything. And sometime between 6 and 12 months, closer to 12 months,
Yeah.
we noticed things like she wouldn't sit up on her own, which we know now she has low muscle tone. That's part of the disorder. She wasn't repeating a lot of words, babbling a lot. So at about 12 months, that's when our pediatrician referred us to infants and toddlers, which is, they have most counties in the United States offer those programs just to provide additional support. So we started physical therapy, some educational services, and occupational therapy.
Cool.
Yeah. So there were some hurdles. We didn't totally know what it was, but there is sort of a parent's intuition. Yeah. And we definitely knew something wasn't quite right. We had like more than 100, appointments, various appointments, and we ended up, thankfully we have good health insurance, so we were able to get a very expensive, about a $20,000 genetic test.
Wow.
And I remember when we got the results of the genetic test. It was such a rare and unknown disorder that the geneticist at Children's Hospital in DC even said, I don't know what this is. I've never heard of it.
Wow.
And they showed us a printout of from like NIH or something.
Yeah.
Of what it was, and then they gave us they printed out like a Facebook group page, and actually, funny enough, the Facebook group page was just incredible to connect with people.
How many people have, or how many
So
people have your
the SYNGAP one.
Yeah.
So when she was diagnosed about a year and a half ago, there's about 350 people in the world diagnosed with it. Yeah.
Wow.
But it wasn't discovered until 2009.
Wow.
And it's since then has been added to more and more. They call them like panels, basically, like what they screen for in genetic testing. So intellectual disability is one of the panels that they screen for is SYNGAP 1 now. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought here.
No, this is good.
So we were happy to know, I guess what it is.
Yeah.
But it was still like, where are we going? Oh yeah, how we were talking about how common it is.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, if you think about it, you have to have great insurance to cover a $20,000 test, or you have to be willing to like roll the dice. I mean, they told us there's like maybe like, I don't know, like a 10% chance that anything would come up on the genetic test. So if I was paying for that out of pocket, I think I would probably not opt to spend $20K.
Yeah.
Now there's about 500 or so people diagnosed with it in the world, and they think it's about as common as Fragile X or Rett syndrome, actually, which makes it probably not a rare disorder at all.
Right.
But just genetic disorder.
Yeah, first of all, big shout out, big props to you guys for being awesome parents.
Yeah, thanks.
We can obviously tell just in our interactions and the way we see your kids and everything. What's that been like for you guys? I mean, it can't be easy, obviously.
No, it's definitely tough.
Yeah.
It is tough, and yeah, I don't know what it's I don't know. It's the
I
life.
guess
It's
you've
the
never-
life. It's the life I know now. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like asking my daughter, like, what's life like with SYNGAP 1? You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's all she knows. It's been very humbling.
Yeah.
Spiritually, it's been a few years ago. I prayed, for quite a while for humility, and sort of half regret that, because you got to be careful what you pray for, because sometimes it's answered. You
Right.
know? And
right.
But that's been good.
Yeah.
Developing some more humility. It's also it's been good. Just it requires a lot of self-sacrifice, and it's not the kind of self-sacrifice you can choose to do or not do. I mean, it's just there. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, it's changed my perspective on. I've always been like a very goal-oriented person, kind of a go-getter, I guess.
Yeah.
And sort of for the first time in my life, I don't really have a big long-term plan. My long-term plan right now is to get my family to heaven,
Right.
and get myself there.
Right.
Of course, with the grace and mercy of Jesus. But yeah, it's allowed me. It's taught me to kind of go with the flow more, to roll with things more. You don't always know what you're going to expect. One of the other markers of the disorder is epilepsy.
Yeah.
And it's what they call drug resistant or pharmacoresistant epilepsy, meaning she's on quite a few medicines for epilepsy, like three different medications for epilepsy, and she's tried many others, and she still has dozens of seizures a day, and that's down from hundreds. I mean, so we've made progress, but
wow. Dude.
Yeah, and there is a certain sadness with it too, that I mean, you just don't want your kids to go through this.
Right.
It's not the life you want for them. And
Right.
when we got the diagnosis, it was sort of the same feeling. I don't know if you've ever lost anyone that you've loved, but we kind of lost the life that we were imagining for her, I guess, if that makes sense. We had imagined a far different life than what she has right now. But that's not to say that her life, still won't be great and beautiful. But yeah, I mean, the reality is, she's 3 years old, and we know, like, she won't drive a car. It seems very unlikely that she would get married or be in a relationship. It seems pretty likely that she'll probably live with us, for as long as we can take care of her.
Right.
And I think there's something beautiful about that too, though. And and there's something really, really holy about just kind of the helplessness and dependence that she has on us.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's another kind of spiritual lesson that we're definitely still learning is that we're kind of helpless too. I mean, it's basically, we were just told, like, this is what it is. We can do, there's some things we can do, but we know she's going to have these problems. We're it's out of our control, basically.
Yeah.
And I guess the blessing is that you learn to give up that control a little bit more, and you learn that you've never really had that much control to begin with.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man. Yeah, I guess to kind of wrap it all up, what's your faith life like now that you have, obviously you have your 3 beautiful children, but you have Mary, who has special needs. Have you seen your faith life just explode more, or were you? I guess my other question was, were you ever just why God us? God, why us?
Yeah.
Do you ever ask and that's
sure.
a human thing.
Sure.
There's so many moments in my own life, like, where you look at, when you lose a job or when you lose a friend or whatever,
Yeah.
And obviously that's not even comparable to what you guys are going through, but at the same time, it's very human to just be like,
suffering.
God, why? Yeah.
No, I mean there is and there's a part of suffering that I feel like we'll just never understand. And we don't have to understand it either. I guess that's I think you can you could wear yourself out and probably hurt yourself spiritually if you just
Right.
keep trying to understand why
Right.
why would God do this. It's I guess the focus shifts from why to what does God want me to do about it.
Amen. Yeah.
And he's given us this beautiful girl to love, and not just to love and care for 18 years
Yeah.
and then prepare her for the world and send her on her way, but
right.
to love forever, and to kind of love even though there's a kind of a big unknown.
Dude, incredible. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome to hear just about you and your family and just the way you guys are taking care of your daughter. What's the short-term goal right here now? You just get through day by day? Is that kind of what you guys
and with COVID too, like I was saying before, like we had a good support system in place, largely from the church, thankfully. And that just got completely wiped out, when COVID happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't ask these retired people, who were volunteering to come to our house to help us out. No, that wasn't an option.
That must have been a huge wrench in this. I think
when
I talk to a lot of parents who do have special needs children, because we have quite a few friends, and we in our own families.
Oh yeah.
My cousin is a special needs child, or now he's like older now, and my wife's cousin is also special needs and very, very like far on the spectrum.
Yeah.
But every time from my own experience and from even my wife's experience, I think the biggest thing was like there is try to be on like a consistent schedule type of thing going on. At least that's one of the things that I notice with a lot of different special needs child and children.
For sure.
COVID must have just threw everything under the bus and out of the house.
It did, and what we had done after kind of struggling for maybe a couple weeks, I guess, when the COVID lockdown stuff started happening.
Yeah.
We actually moved. I mean, not totally moved, but we kind of moved in with my in-laws and kind of kept a little bubble there, basically.
Yeah.
Really, kind of for a couple months.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was great, the support that they gave us, and that kind of filled in some of the gaps for us, for sure.
Nice.
And since then, we've kind of slowly trying to get back to kind of a normal support system, I guess. But yeah, definitely tough. And we worked really hard to get her into the public school for special education, and she started right after she turned 3, which is when they're allowed to begin, and she went to school for like 6 weeks. And
man,
and then COVID happened.
Wow.
And even still, we're definitely praying for it, but even still, she can't wear a mask because of her disability.
Yeah.
And it seems a little it's ambiguous whether or not she'll be able to go back. I mean, we're hoping that she'll go back in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. One of the we are going to wrap things up soon. I didn't want to have you for too long, but one of the things we always ask dads on the show, really we ask them, how do you like Catholic dad? Like, what's your philosophy on raising your kids and trying to get your family to heaven?
Yeah.
But for you, I think it's more important to ask, especially as a lot of dads who either have kids, or even if you're a dad who has a family with special needs, what would you say to other dads or other families about raising not only your family in the faith, but having a special needs child? And what's your philosophy, or how do you look at life, and especially in the lens of your faith, on raising a child with special needs, but also at the same time wanting to build a family of faith?
Yeah.
What would be your advice? I guess the question is, what from your own experience, what would be your advice to other families, especially Catholic families who do have children with special needs?
Well, I think you have to start with yourself, and you have to have your interior self needs to be strong. And I'm not ashamed to say, I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And so that's always that's always a component of being a Catholic dad.
Yeah.
Is you always have to be working on yourself, and you've never arrived. The goal is never met, and so you start with I try to start with myself.
Yeah.
We've started saying a nightly rosary just the one decade, because it's it's about all we can fit in as a family.
Yeah.
But that's been a big blessing for us. Definitely, blessing your children, talking about your faith. We keep holy oil and holy salt and holy water. I think maybe it might have been Father Larry who said this, but I think it's a good idea. Is his mom just would put holy water in a squirt gun and just shoot him with it, as they're running around the house. And
all right, dude. Now I want to do that.
Yeah, right.
Awesome,
I know. Yeah, my son's been in Nerf guns lately, so maybe put a little holy oil on the tip of the dart. And
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, and talking about your faith too, and like lately I've been talking with Francis, my 6-year-old, about strength and what it means to be strong.
Yeah.
And especially one of the things that's been a challenge for him right now is standing and kneeling and during Mass, and I've been talking to him a lot about why that's important, and what you're standing for, and who you're kneeling for. And that to complain about that is just a weakness that you just that's not strength, and it's not love for God.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely very open about my faith, and I obviously talk about with Francis for sure about what it means for me too to work in the music ministry, and why that's so important and so special for me. And then the other thing, and I know this is like almost a cop-out because it's not about being a good Catholic dad, but having a good Catholic wife is like the number one. I mean, when I'm faltering and she's strong, it brings me back.
Yeah.
I forget to pray, before a meal, she remembers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of keeps me straight.
Yeah.
And on target. But yeah, and like you said, I mean, the number one goal, the big goal is get yourself to heaven and get your family there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. All right, real quick before we go, just want to hit some hot fire questions at you.
Okay.
Just real quick things. You don't have to spend that long on them.
Okay.
We are gonna be ending the show soon.
Rapid fire.
How'd you get into guns?
How did I get into guns?
Because this guy is one of the biggest gun owners that I know, and it's awesome. Have you always been on the political spectrum? Have you always been pro Second Amendment, or even just like pro liberty?
No, I went through a phase of my life where I was quite the opposite.
Yeah. We didn't even get to talk about that.
Yeah,
That's okay. We'll have to have you back on the show for sure.
Yeah. My dad had some firearms that he handed down to me.
Nice.
And that was sort of the impetus for me. And I just love it.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful feeling, and it's such an enjoyable thing to do.
Yeah.
I like the subculture that exists. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Best burger?
Best burger.
Do you like burgers? Are you a burger guy?
I'm a really bad vegan, is what I am.
Are you?
I am. I'm just a terrible vegan. I'm the worst.
Have you had the Impossible Burger yet?
I have. Yeah, I think I've had that
vegan,
one. Yeah, I've had one of those. Beyond Burger is the one.
Yeah.
That's the one I've had.
It tastes exactly like meat, but it's not.
Yeah. No, it's good.
That's cool.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll have meat sometimes for sure.
That's cool. I didn't know that about you. That's cool.
Yeah. I a couple years ago I read a book. A fairly thick book on nutrition.
Yeah.
And it just I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this out.
Yeah. Very cool. Video games have one of the things that I think.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even talk about how we met, or we obviously met through our church, or the church that you are the director for, but I'm a parishioner there. One of the things that it's funny because you would never think people play video games, but I think it's just such a generational thing.
Yeah.
Like our parents never played video games. Obviously,
yeah.
we were like the first, I think, in the generation to play video games, and when I found out that you played some stuff. And that you were, I think you mentioned that you played a little bit of Fall Guys. I think that's kind of how the conversation started. And then we were like, hey, and then I saw you playing. Were you playing like Call of Duty or what were you playing? Like a shooter or something?
I'll dabble in like the free game of the month on on the PlayStation Network. And
have you always been a gamer growing up or?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I got started. StarCraft,
nice.
Diablo.
Dude, if you ever get a PC again, we got to play those games for those old games.
I'd love to replay some of those.
Love StarCraft growing up. Love Warcraft growing up. That's so funny.
I didn't get huge into Warcraft for some reason, but yeah. I mean, good game.
I think it's just like the
obviously.
world. What do you prefer, like sci-fi or like that medieval Tolkien world? But that's cool. I remember seeing you on. I added you on PlayStation Network, and then I saw you playing a Call of Duty or something.
I think World War II was the free game of the month.
I saw you playing. I was like, hey, have you ever checked out Warzone? You were like, no,
What's
I haven't. now we're playing it. It's cool because I think video games. People will have their opinions about video games. A lot of trads don't like video games or whatever. But I think with anything, kind of balance is key. Like a lot of different, even like you can have a lot of different hobbies that can get out of hand. It doesn't have to be video games. It could be guns or it could be whatever. If it's affecting your responsibilities, if it's affecting your everyday life, that's where it can be bad. But I think the coolest part about video games for me now, especially I'm playing with you more and with Josh and a couple of our other friends, is that I would like, now that we have our own families, it's very hard to spend time with good friends and good people outside of our house. And so I think video games is cool for that, so it's very cool.
Definitely. Some friends of mine from high school and college, we're thousands of miles apart now. But back in the beginning of COVID, we actually three of us got into Ark. I don't know if you played Ark, but really fun game.
Which one's that one?
It's like an adult version of Minecraft, but with dinosaurs.
Yes. Okay.
Basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite saint?
Ooh. Throwing that at me.
Ooh, let's go.
St. Paul is my confirmation saint.
Nice.
And I mean, I definitely can relate to the conversion.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
And your quick thoughts on the election coming up?
It's a mess, man.
Yeah. You guys vote in person?
Actually, we have our ballots.
Okay.
We've
cool.
I don't know. We have them. We filled them out. Kind of mulling over.
When do they do? When are mail-in ballots due?
8 p.m. on election night.
Oh, okay.
You can turn them in.
Cool.
Yeah, as late as that.
So you guys are mulling it over whether you guys want to go in person or not?
Yeah. I see the drop boxes around town. There's one that's at Sacred Heart, and my conspiracy theory mind. This is totally a joke. I don't actually believe this, but I'm like, oh yeah, they'll put a ballot box there so they know just to throw all those away or something.
I think that's actually one of the polling places. Sacred Heart's one of the polling places.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We've always voted in person. Never missed an election.
Cool.
Take voting very seriously.
Yeah.
And I may still vote in person. Still can. I don't know. I haven't turned it in yet.
But
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself.
Oh yeah. It's cool.
It was awesome to learn, I think, a little more about you and a little bit more about your family. And so again, thank you, man. I appreciate it. We'll be praying for you.
Yeah.
One of the things we do at every end of every show is we ask or we talk about prayer intentions. So is there anything specific that you would like our audience and that we can pray for you guys?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, number one is for my daughter. Yeah, for sure. Who is it? Father McGivney. Ellen, my wife. We were just talking about. He's up for beatification, and I believe that's right. And I think there was someone. His beatification is happening because of. It might be because of someone with special needs. I'd have to look it up.
What? That's
cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
But I'm sure we can
fact
check that later.
We'll fact check it later. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, definitely. That's pretty much always my number one intention for my daughter.
Cool. I want to pray for obviously the country through this kind of crazy time that we're living in. Yeah. Not only with COVID, but also with the election going on, and praying for peace in the.
And I'll throw out the. Pray for the church and the Holy Father as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you again. Appreciate you being here, ladies and gentlemen. That has been episode 106, aka season 1, episode 6. Please go to iTunes and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you would surely if you don't mind leaving a review. Reviews are how we get the podcast more visible. Please share with your friends. We are live on Facebook, and we post every Monday on all those platforms, including YouTube. For video, you want to go to Facebook and YouTube, and for audio, obviously all the different podcast services around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I think let's just do a quick prayer before we end.
Yeah.
In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against witches and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Saint Joseph, pray for us. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys next week. Again, just to reiterate, there is 2 episodes left. I think we're going to have one more guest next week. I think we're doing Deacon Jim next week.
Awesome.
So that'll be a really good episode talking about his story.
Amazing Catholic.
Yeah. And then we have the season finale. Hopefully that Josh can make it too. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.